know what it was saying.
Yeah.
When you get into a deep argument, sometimes somebody just back you down with, okay, I get what you're saying, but guess what?
Mm-hmm.
You the one that got baptized. We asked you 2 questions, and you said yes to it. It felt like he was saying that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It felt like he was saying, listen, let's cut all the arguments out or whatever. You sign a contract.
Yeah,
that's it.
Right. Sign a contract.
Nobody forced you to do that, did they?
Exactly.
You can't say nothing about it.
Exactly. Like, can you really blame the society? I'm talking about, and I was talking about even the XJWs.
Right.
Like, you got pimped. You got pimped.
Use a hard word.
You got because that's what they're doing. They're pimping people.
Right.
Right? It maybe not in a traditional sense. There's no fishnet stockings going. Well, associated with it, fishnet stockings, a leather skirt.
And that's
like old school prostitution. Yeah. There's people that's sitting there, like me and you, most of, at least half our life, right? And at some point, especially recent, when I say recent, in the last 15 years, they don't, after a while, it's like they don't bother you no more. Like, they didn't bother me.
No.
At all. No, when you gonna get, they kind of No. I don't know if it was like a thing where it's like, just thought about something. What if not bothering you, means almost like a quiet signal. Don't do it. like we really like you.
Right.
Sean.
Right.
Don't do it. We can't come out and say it, but we hope you get the hint. We ain't gonna bother you no more. We'll never ask you about it in life. As a matter of fact, you get all the benefit, like I mentioned before, and don't even have to be a part of this.
Right. Yeah, it's sort of like a selfish thing too.
Yeah.
Because you got to think about it. Like, it's sort of like I get to hang around you anyway.
Yeah.
We went to all the barbecues and everything like it was nothing.
Make sure this is what the message would be to me. Make sure you bring Sean. Make sure you bring you.
Yeah.
You wasn't with this. The reason why I mentioned me emphatically is because this guy dipped off many years ago. So they don't even know this.
Yeah,
they don't even know this, brother. They know him a little, I see him like that. But you, I was the one that really held on.
Right.
A little longer.
Right.
So and my situation was different. So I got children. They want their children to play with my children.
Right.
I
never even took a personal book study. Remember, I never even took a book study.
What do you mean? Oh, you mean recently?
I'm talking about. I'm not talking about when we were young. I'm talking about a personal. Like, we did it as a group when we were kids.
Yeah.
I did it. I never took.
Great segue. I did it.
Yeah, you did.
In my adult life. Wait. Okay. One. I think one. But this one lasted long, like 2 years or a year.
Did?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I remember doing it, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
Obviously, nothing happened.
We had it in the law office.
Oh, right.
Remember that?
Right.
In the conference room in the law office. Right. Yeah. Yep. So after a while, it was like, I don't even remember like a send off, all right, so this is our last one. You
probably just stopped him,
Yeah. Most likely, I probably stopped.
I'm busy.
You know what? I think there was a mention.
Right.
Almost like we've been doing this for.
How long? And do you want to do anything about it?
Do you want? Yeah. I put in some work. And it was yeah, I'll let you know. I remember it being something like that. But I made up my decision even before the end of that, those sessions, like I was like, oh, this is
You know what question I asked a long time ago, and it always was a question that scared me. Like whenever I thought of it, like you know, when you think about something and actually brings something, or evokes some type of emotion in you.
Yeah, because you're like,
this question I had always scared me. I used to say, if you ask a Jehovah's Witness who rules this world, what would they say? Who would they say?
Who rules this world? Who
rules this world?
Satan.
Right. You know what? A question I always ask myself. The devil runs this world.
Yeah.
So whenever I read the Bible and I saw the things that God did that didn't coincide with an all-loving God, I always said to myself, was that me?
Ladies and gentlemen, he just took me on a height. I didn't get it before. He took me on a height higher than the Freedom Tower. That's our highest building in New York City, where the World Trade Center used to be. Rest in peace. You took me, I just got it.
How I thought.
I just got what you were saying, that the only God we know is the one that people call Satan a God. We have never yet to experience. Okay, so now the question would be...
Obviously, there's questions, right?
The question would be, right, if there was a God as bad as what they claim Satan is, right? All bad. How do we get even a little glimmer of good that we get in life? Wouldn't it just be all bad all the time?
Yeah, but then if you have something like, how do you? I don't understand. How do you give people all bad? Their expectation is none. Right?
That's true.
So you gotta give good and then
take it away.
And then, that's how I thought.
Obviously, yeah.
There's certain things you can't do and you're not able to do because you're all. So when you see a lot of stuff that went down in the Bible and stuff like that, you say, how is that the same one? How is that the same one? Of course,
because they say, a lot of people say that, especially them, the Jehovah's Witnesses, that Jehovah can't do bad.
Right.
They say
I'm using their words against them. Like, we were to make a movie right now, and we wouldn't name anybody in the movie, and we took God, right, and we watched the movie and watched everything that he did. We would think that's God. We would say this is the villain.
Yeah.
We wouldn't think that was the all-loving God.
Yeah, that's also man writing those and putting it on God.
Right.
That's also men saying, that happened. I'm putting that on God.
Right. Not to mention, how do you fear something that's all loving?
Yeah.
How do you fear something that's all loving?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? People walk around every day and be like, God-fearing. Yeah. But then you realize and you say, wait a minute, how do you fear something that's possible that you say all loving? It doesn't make sense. You only fear because you're scared of what the repercussions are going to be.
That's true. That's true. And that's why a lot of NDE, near-death experiences, talk about,
what they feel about
what there's no judgment or fear or nothing. They say that the love and everything is overwhelming.
Right.
You know what I mean? But the good part is we have no control over this. Right. This is just us just building and whatever. But but we got no control. That's the problem. A lot of people think like, whatever I believe is what I will achieve. Not in this case.
No.
Not in this case.
No.
You could believe that
whatever you want.
Yeah, that you're gonna be separated into a 1,000 yous in the next life. Right. Like it's gonna be 1,000 of us, and we're all gonna help each other, and we're gonna be the same person but separated. Be like, you can believe what the hell you want.
You can believe anything you want.
It's not going to become your reality just because you believe it. This was all set in place.
Place already. Yeah, that's
true. Even the animals, like, to what degree? Now we have to start getting into what degree. You're playing with tigers and lions. There's kids now that can play with, if they grew up with them. You have to differentiate. Be like, he will never turn against you. Right. He will never try to attack you or maul you. At any point. Be like, but what about the beginning stage? The first 2 days in paradise? Can we pet the lions? they're going to be running around aimlessly? Is there going to be any fences?
They got a lot of explaining to do.
You know?
It's astronomical.
It's like I'm 2 days away from eating meat, and on the third day you're going to say, you're going to have to start eating celery today, Mr. Lion and Tiger, Mr. Carnivore. Like, no, I'm going to eat the closest thing to me.
The next day is just going to be square teeth. It's gonna be square teeth like hands.
Like they've been wearing Invisalign for like you know, biting on a carrot, like, you know. It's you got explaining to do because if
people that hate us.
There's a lot of explaining to do, and I know we speak collectively and individually on Paradise a lot because, you know, they made the mistake, and they, meaning the Jehovah Witnesses, of they paint the picture.
Right.
If you gonna paint the picture, you gotta stand on it.
Right.
You said we're gonna be playing with lions and tigers, and the kid is gonna be playing inside the hole of a serpent or something. When? Right. How long in?
Right.
Those serpents and tigers and lions is going to be there, right? The first day, or else you got to change the story. No, it's going to, you know, they're going to be all gone, and then they're going to start actually coming into fruition, 100 years in, but they're going to be born trained. They're going to be born with square Invisalign treated teeth.
Right.
You know?
Tigers with braces.
Yeah. They're not going to look mean. They're going to be walking around smiling.
See, now you're making fun.
No, it's like, okay.
Now you're making fun.
Or they won't exist. You're better off saying, I don't know what animals are going to be in there. But they'll argue and say, yeah, but the Bible said the serpents and that the deer or whatever is going to be, you know, playing with the, you know, it's what about all the defenses? Because once you certain animals, once you rearrange things, once you take away their defenses, some of them you take away how they look altogether. Porcupines.
Yeah.
The defense is that they shoot off these pines or whatever you want to call it. So now in Paradise, they should not possess any of those things.
They're just gonna be bald.
They're just gonna be bald. Now they look like squirrels. Now they look like big squirrels. Like it's like for what, you know. It's there's things that you gotta be willing, you know. But that's the one.
Speak, you gotta.
Yeah, but that's the part. That's the part where they say, you know, with certain things we're not gonna know. It's like, how about all things we're not?
You're not gonna know nothing.
You know.
How about you don't know nothing right now?
Yeah.
How about that?
How about that? You know.
Somebody said to me. Somebody said not too long ago. You can't just be good. It's not enough, right?
Yeah.
You heard that before, right?
Yeah, heard that.
But the funny thing about it is, I'm sitting there shaking my head because I'm like, all right, you can't just be good, right? That's not enough, right?
How insane
but right, huh?
I said, how insane is that?
But then look at this. The minute you say, so that means only you're going to be in paradise, or you're gonna guess what they say?
What?
No, he's gonna read your heart.
Uh-huh.
What did the heart reveal? The heart only reveals if you're good or bad. It don't reveal what assignments you did and what you did. How is it that you can't just be good? That's not enough. But then at the end it says he's gonna read your heart. What else does the heart reveal?
Do you hear the knowledge that's being dropped?
Like
the heart don't.
It don't show nothing else.
Show nothing else, but good or bad. So that's it.
That's their comeback.
Yeah.
He's gonna read your heart.
He's gonna read your heart.
Okay.
And the heart shows good or bad.
So I guess your heart is gonna be like, wait, like, okay, they went out in field service. How many times or whatever, and how long? Like,
that's why I got this hat on, y'all, and it makes sense. And I didn't even plan it. Freedom to think,
to like
to think, to also to the freedom that you got when you free your mind and be like, I don't need to go and knocking on somebody's door.
Right.
I don't need to put in a certain amount of hours. I don't need to be in this organization. That like that freedom.
That's free. Yeah.
It's certain.
I still get a lot of people that write me and they don't know, because I guess they see certain videos from and they like, oh, I'm glad you got out, and I feel bad because we were never baptized, so I was free all my life. We may have done the studies from a young age, but we was free.
But we had people around us that we saw how bad it could get, as far as like, you gotta do this, and you gotta be on, you going out and serve. We saw that, and it was like, thank God that we don't have parents that are really, that was even baptized during that time.
They were
at that time, you know what I mean? So it was like, but we know from what we saw. And for the record, those that grew up in that type of, environment, because I think it was worse back then, you better get, I mean, they probably still doing that. You gotta get up and go out, and you gotta do this or whatever. Not one of them are involved.
Right.
As a matter of fact, it's like the far extreme. No, don't even, no.
Yeah.